Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. This is what we have to do kind of thing, right? But then you come along and you go, okay, here's what I'm seeing, right? And it's a different take. It's a different point of view that helps to sort of round things out. Like you mentioned this, and this is a big deal, and I think bigger than most people even realize, is if you had a small business before COVID that you currently have today, you have all kinds of things happening that are challenges. Yep. And I would say probably the biggest one is you have employees that were with you pre-COVID that are with you today. And we all, I think, as leaders, or at least I know, all of us as leaders need to sit with those people and say, talk to me about how COVID changed your perspective on life. Talk to me about how, being cooped up for 60 days affected the conversation you're having with your spouse. Talk to me about what the rest of your life looks like. What does your job look like here? Are you fulfilled? You with me? Because and listen to them, ask them, right? But listen to them. I'm a big fan of piggyback questions, right? So like you'd have a conversation with your employee and you'd ask them about their perspective and they would tell you, well, it's changed a little bit. Okay. How has it changed? What is it about your perspective that, well, I'm starting to think about different things. Great. What are the different things that you're thinking about? You with me?
Yeah.
And it's an active listening, active, quick questioning conversation, not inquisitive, right? Or inquisition kind of thing, but inquisitive, curious, right? Like I told my kids, I'm like, look, because they're now 24 and 25 and they're out in the workforce, right?
Yep.
I said, the absolute best thing you can do for yourself is pull out Microsoft Word, bring up Microsoft Word, blank document, top line, stay in curiosity. Bottom line, stay out of judgment. In the largest font you can possibly put it in, print it, and put it up in front of where you work every day. So when you're on the phone with people and you're talking with people and you're emailing people and you're interacting, stay in curiosity and stay out of judgment, right? Because what we do as human beings, and by the way, I know I'm on my soapbox again, but I apologize. Today, the idea of a conversation is you're talking and I'm sitting here thinking about what I'm going to say next. That's not a conversation. That's a debate. Okay. We have to get back to where we stay in curiosity and we stay out of judgment. Judgment makes us do stupid things. Like it makes us not ask a question that we should be asking if we stayed in curiosity because we think it's a dumb question. Hey, you know what? I've got 3 brain cells left after all these years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I play dumb. I'm literally physically designed to play dumb, right? So I'm joking, of course, but you know what I mean, right? I'm really good at just not judging anything and just asking the stupid question. But here's the thing. The question you prejudged as being stupid is oftentimes the one that people go, oh, you know what? That's a good question. Because nobody else asked it. They already prejudged it, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at is business owners and parents even, right? Business owners need to have a conversation with the people that they're leading. And by the way, executives do too, about how COVID has changed them. Because here's the thing, the change has happened. They're buying RVs. RVs are flying off the shelves, right? They're buying RVs. They're buying Starlink. You know what Starlink is?
Yeah.
They're buying of course you do. You're in the middle of Wisconsin, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Right. But they're buying Starlink discs, receivers, and they're talking about going out into the middle of absolutely nowhere and working out of that RV.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people doing that right now, right? And you have Amazon who just came out and said everybody has to come back to work 5 days a week.
Right.
They're going to lose a bunch of people,
Exactly. No.
right? Because those people don't want to go back to the office. The office almost feels claustrophobic to them, even if it's a giant office,
Right.
right? Because they feel like they're going backwards. Because when COVID hit, it was like, you know what? This is not fulfilling me. This is not getting me to where I want to be. That conversation needs to be had, and people need to take stock, right? And inventory of where their people are.
Right.
And that's a big part of what you can do by coming in and going, hey, here's what I see, right? That's why I feel like what you're doing is so invaluable to small business owners, because they really need that. And you get stuck in a rut when you're a small business owner. And oftentimes you need somebody like you to come in and go, hey, it's okay, right?
Right.
You've been doing this now for this number of years. What, right? It's, 2 decades, whatever. You've been doing this for this number of years. There are some things that are working. There are some things we need to tweak, but there are some things that are working. Talk about that conversation for a second. If a small business owner is somebody owns a business, they owned it pre-COVID, they own it, post-COVID, right? Talk about that conversation that you're going to be having with them if they bring you in to consult with them.
Yeah. And like you're saying, such huge insight on it, because there's so much with that. And it's not only in the small business, right? The large business, but being the experience that I had, and even at that senior general manager level, I mean, a typical day could be changing a hydraulic pump and presenting in a board meeting
Right.
all the same day.
Right.
Understanding, and in 19 different states having divisions, you understand different people,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause people in one area aren't going to be the same as they are in another area. Like I said, even just little Wisconsin here, Eau Claire to Eleva.
Culture shock. Yeah,
miles.
exactly. Right. Yeah.
So being with the experience of being mentored under John, right? Understanding every aspect of the income statement. When I go into a business, it's very easy because we were able, because he's very strict, right? And on it and demanding on what needs to happen. So it was so ingrained in me on what to look for in my own world that was running for him, that when I walk into a business and I see even the simple things, it might be the simple thing as a garbage where a team member had to walk 20 feet to go put something in the garbage, right? Where they could just put this garbage can right next to them. Now
Right.
it increases efficiency, right? Throughput through maybe the conditions of the break room. Maybe
Yeah.
the warehouse is breaking in the warehouse and it's in Arizona where it's hot, right? Why aren't they in the office when there's plenty of room for them to be with the office? Why segregate it on there? So when I first walk in, I work with all the leaders. I don't say I'm only talking to the CEO, I'm only talking to the owner. I want to hear all the way from the part-time team member that's hired to maybe sweep the floor to all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
I don't there's zero judgment zones. I've done all angles. And I've always said that God gave us each legs and each arms. We can all bend at the waist. So if you don't walk over a piece of banding, you pick it up, regardless of what the title is. Titles shouldn't matter, right? Because it should be a community, with the involvement for that. So that conversation, and then when you start picking it out, right, you start to earn their trust. So you don't judge them. I don't judge whatever conditions it's under, regardless if it's like, how did you get like this? Why are you like that? But just understanding their side, understanding where did they come from? How did it start? Like I said, I'm very big on history. Like, how did you start? So if you've been in business for 19 years, how did it start? Are you a first generation? Are you a second generation? On it, what were your pain points? And sometimes they'll start rattling out all kinds of things because their head is moving around like a squirrel. And I'm like, that's a symptom. What's the question? What's the question? And you start almost, then you get to it where they're answering their own question.
Yeah.
So again, under the mentor, it's always been funny because you would never present a problem without a solution.
Mm-hmm.
So when you bring up all these, well, I can't get anyone to do anything. Okay, so what's the question? Well, and you start just drilling into another one, all of a sudden they're answering their own.
Yeah.
And then now they come back like, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm a leader. And they build up themselves. Also the shoulders go back, right? The head's higher, like I own my business. And now when that confidence comes in the leader, that confidence in that leader spreads rapidly out to the team.
Yeah.
So many people start with, the manager trainees or the team members on the floor because it's their fault. You have to, it's got to be corrected up top on, and then as the leader grows and the manager and the owner and their mindset is like, this is our vision, this is our culture, we're good, we're fine. It's like going through COVID. If everyone huddled in a corner and didn't leave and didn't come out, that's how they would stay today. You need to say, we're okay, we got this. It might be a downtime, it might be a downturn, but what do we got to do it? You can't be too in love with your product because what's the other solution?
Right.
Right? Because there's other, what can you build with that machine that you're building a basketball with? Can you build a soccer ball? Can you build a baseball? But not to spend a lot of capital. Again, not a new system necessarily, not a new machine, but what else can you do with what you have, with the resources you have, and to get a better result? So it's
I think the thing that's most important about what you're saying is it's all about questions, right? Like
all about questions.
The running theme in this podcast is that questions are the bedrock of human communication. And it's again, it goes back to that staying in curiosity thing, right? And the best thing you can do as a leader is to sit with the people that you're leading and ask them questions that help guide them to the conclusion that they need to come to, right? Because like you said, it needs, just like with the leader, it needs to be their idea.
Right.
Once it's their idea, they own it. Once you have ownership as a leader, once your people have ownership of what it is that they're doing, life is good, right? That place starts firing on all cylinders. And like you're saying, efficiencies start being pointed out, right? Like, the best thing you could do as a leader is empower your people to come to you and go, hey, you know what? That machine that we're using to build basketballs with, we could use to make soccer balls.
Exactly.
You with me? Some of the absolute best ideas on the planet come from the people that are on the firing line, that are on the assembly line, that are out there every day working for the company. Dysfunctional companies don't let them feel empowered. Companies that function the way that they should and have the right kind of leadership in place and the right kind of culture and systems, people feel empowered. They feel like, hey, you know what? This would be a good idea. This might be something to think about. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. If you're going to succeed in this business or in any business, right? If you're going to succeed in business, you need help. You need help from you, right? As a consultant, as somebody who can from the outside looking in. You also need help from your employees. You need help from your other leaders.
Right. Absolutely. You need to listen.
Yeah.
Right? Don't dismiss them right away. Because
Right.
you get so caught up in maybe the energy that's out there, but have that gratitude, right? Have that grace, and then just listen.
Yeah.
It's not always that. I mean, many times the ideas would be there, but then don't say, well, that's a dumb idea. Walk through it, right? It's all in the words and the language you use on. That's a great for bringing it to me. But as we do this, as you can see, this is what this would do if we went that path, for that. Or I mean, you're craft out a proposal, put the difference in, on what would that return be? Would you save time? Is it a safety thing? What would it be? And then implement it in. So it's not, you're not dismissing them right away because it's good. Believe me, they're going to say like, well, on September 12th in 2012, you said, it's like, no, that's not what it said. Or that.
You said no to me and I'm never going to forget it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And there are some behavioral styles you never want to say no to. Ever.
Yeah. No.
Right. Ever, ever, ever. That's the cardinal rule. So what you want to do is just listen to them and then just say, great, how would that work?
Yeah.
How could you implement that? Right? And
Correct.
then they go into the conversation, they get into the conversation of how it would be implemented. Okay, how would that benefit the company? Right? They're going to a conversation about that. And you either get to a successful conclusion or they end up getting to a conclusion where they talk themselves into a corner and they're like, oh, you know what? That won't work.
Right.
On the surface, that was a great idea, but you know what? I don't think it'd work here. Maybe, maybe we try this later, that kind of thing, right? But you get them to say that. You
Exactly.
get them to say that, they're telling themselves no. You're not having to, right?
Right. You just
So,
take that question with another question, all of a sudden
yeah,
they're answering their own question,
yeah.
right? And they're like,
So
I don't think
so
this is a very good idea. I'll look at
that's
this
it.
before and I'll
That's
bring
it.
it back.
Yeah. So Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference. I don't know if you've read that book. It's
No, I haven't
amazing.
yet.
So I listen to books on tape when I work out.
Yep.
And I walk over 100 miles a month, right? And so I have some time, right,
Yep.
to listen. So I'm listening to his book probably for the 10th time now. And he has a thing he calls calibrated questions. And a calibrated question is, how could I do that? How could we do that? How could that work out? How would that, right? Everything's how.
Yep.
Everything's how. And then the person that he's talking to then comes back to him and says, this is how. This is how this works, right? And it engages them, right? But it also is a way, if you do it the right way, a calibrated question is a way to say no without saying no.
Right.
It's really slick,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know?
Absolutely. And like I said, that was, 3 decades of dealing with that. It was how you presented the question
Yeah,
and the situation, but it also then, when you got, not necessarily burned is a bad word, but trigger back saying it didn't work, where you like talked yourself into the corner,
yeah,
you really, those people then, or your employees, would really vet out all the different situations. Like, they're spinning themselves out because they're like, okay, what questions is he gonna ask? What
right.
questions is he gonna ask? For it. So you already looked all those different angles, right? The who, what, where, why, and how.
Yeah,
You already went through them. So now they're like, he's not gonna stump me,
yeah,
right? But then you're not dismissing them from bringing you another one, because they're on the floor. Just because that a new vehicle comes out and all these great gadgets are on there doesn't mean they're in the right position, right?
right,
I mean, who's driving them, who's moving them, who's working with them? I mean, it could be a warehouse, it could be a manufacturing, it could be, and I've done everything from, swinging the hammer to, working on inventing robots, where I
yeah,
have solutions there, so. But it all comes from feedback, and
yeah,
that helps, and that's why that boots on the ground and living all the way through. We always did management by walking around, and it was before that reason, is to know the people, get with the people. They are your ones that are in it. They know how they can take time out. But if you don't have the same culture and the same vision, and they don't understand where the company's vision is, they don't care. It's just a check to them then. It's just a job to them. Where now it's not a job, it's a community. So creating communities, regardless if it's, 34 billion, or if it's 1 million, or if it's 500,000, or you're starting.
right.
If everyone has the same end goal, you don't always have to take the same path to get there, but you stay in the lanes. You can touch the lines,
Yeah,
right? But, you stay in those lanes,
yeah,
to make that happen and play your role, right?
yeah,
That's why football teams work, right? Not everyone can be quarterback, but play your role. Don't always call an audible.
yeah.
Sometimes that audible has to be called, but not all of them work.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And you can't figure it out without trying it, right?
Right.
So if somebody's listening to this and they own a small business
Yeah.
and they need some help,
Mhm.
talk about what you can bring to them and how can they get in touch with you?
Okay. Yeah, what I can bring to them is definitely the experience all the way. And I have experience from basically global. I've worked with companies in other countries and many across the US, for that. And then, so being in touch on there. So just bringing in, because of the boots on the ground, knowing, from the services, seeing the automation, right? There's a lot that I've been involved with, from scaling to the leadership ones to the training on how to take costs out without adding capital in, how
Right.
to trust back in, right? Without, it's not about adding more money, and it's not about, I have a new you don't have to go to version, whatever, X.0 on Microsoft, right? When 97 works.
Right.
So it's about just doing it with the least amount of capital as possible, but just showing those small shifts, right? Showing those small 1 millimeter shifts, 1% shifts on it to
Mhm.
make a big difference quickly,
Yeah.
for that. So like I said, currently I'm working with, and partnered with the Minimalist CEO, Nate Lindquist. So
Mhm.
he's been also doing a very similar thing for 30 plus years. So between the two of us, we really dive into kind of the 5 forces, right? The mind, body, spirit, relationship, and business, because they all need to work together. Because if
True.
you can't find the freedom and you don't have trust in yourself and trust in your team, it's not always about scaling, right? So many people want to, say, well, do you want a 10x? Hey, do you want a 12x? You want a 20x? You want a 2x? Most of them are saying right now, I just want to pay payroll,
Yeah.
and I don't have the money to, to do more, more gadgets, more phones. I don't need the next, version up. I just want to be able to make payroll and not be here till 10 o'clock at night, not be anxiety on how I'm going to do it. And they're worried about their team.
Yeah.
It is a community.
It's legitimate. Yeah.
It's a community for that. So, any which way. So, you can reach out to me on the LinkedIn page.
Okay.
Steph Karlstad, me out there. The minimalistceo.com, or we have another page out there called Trust Signals,
Mhm.
trustsignalsmethod.com. And then you can listen to the video too, and we kind of talk about kind of all the different signals that we do, where you can kind of opt in. We can have an even more deeper conversation. But I'm fine if you want to reach out by my phone too.
Yeah. So is it the minimalistceo.com?
Yep, theMinimalistCEO.com.
Okay, cool. And then the trust signals is
Trust Signals Method is just a landing page that talks more on trust signals. But yeah, that was mine.
trustsignalsmethod.com.
Yep, trustsignalsmethod.com.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you want to give us your number?
Yeah, absolutely. They can reach out to my phone. I love speaking with people. But just like I said, I'd be that one that's probably should be in their truck just driving around the whole country and finding out. But my phone number they can reach out to me too is 715 214 7357.
Say it again.
715 214 7357.
Perfect. Steph Karlstad, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoyed it a lot.
Been great to meet you.
Yes, you too.
Thanks for being here.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.